नमस्कार, फिर से पैसा बोलता है में आपका स्वागत है। मैं आनंद श्रीनिवासन। आज रविवार है, हम हॉट टेक्स करेंगे और हॉट टेक्स में मेरे साथ मेरे भाई रहेंगे। जो न्यूज़पेपर्स में है उसके बारे में अंग्रेजी में हम दोनों वार्तालाप करेंगे।
In that kind of an environment, why would Kotak Bank go acquire Stan Chart's personal loan book for 4,100
Because
crores?
very clear, all the foreign banks want to exit India slowly.
Okay.
Citi has already exited India, sold everything. At one time, 20 years back, Citi was doing home loans, auto loans, personal loans, and
Wealth management.
wealth, everything.
Yeah.
Today they are out.
Yeah, they're not in India.
They are not in India. HSBC also is slowly reducing their money in credit cards now.
Yes.
Now all the foreign banks have been pushed out. With HDFC, ICICI, IDFC, Kotak being very aggressive. You have to have a bank of certain portfolio of certain size for you to be profitable.
Very true.
Now Stan Chart was the last one standing, and Stan Chart was also doing everything, credit cards and all this.
Correct.
Now they are trying to get out of, at least making the first steps to withdraw away from the Indian market. And it is always the loan book is of a high quality book. Citi's quality was high quality book. Similarly, Stan Chart's perceived. I do not know whether it is true or not. The loan book of Stan Chart is much better than the average loan book, and that is why Kotak is acquiring that.
Okay, so it is a value. The customers there are a better value, you're saying.
Yes, they are acquiring more high-profile customers.
Okay. And what about this competition between Middle East and Russia is hampering Brazilian crude imports to India? So what is all this crude business with this boiling of the war?
Okay. Now the crude has not gone up in spite of war and explicit threat of Iran's oil fields being bombed. Nothing seems to be increasing crude's price. This is because simply demand from crude has fallen off the table.
Correct.
Now, India is the only country which is consuming more crude than last year. China is also continuously consuming lesser crude than what they forget growth. Chinese demand is contracting, Japanese demand is contracting, and America is self-sufficient. So there is no demand for crude. Brazil, Saudi, everybody wants to supply to India because India is the only big importer of crude. The reason why crude, there was something called peak oil demand. There was claims that the world would run out of crude oil. But it is very clear that China is now 20% electric. Europe is getting to 18 to 20% electric. By 2030, Europe will be more than 50% electric. So will be not Japan. So will be China, Israel, Poland, Norway, and Singapore will be fully electric by 2030. By 2035, most of Europe will be completely electric. And mainly, it is lack of demand from the transportation sector, which is pushing crude oil prices down.
Okay. So another thing which I want to ask you was, why is Anil Ambani so keen on getting this SEBI order ban lifted? What is he? He's broke anyways. No, why is he?
No. So obviously all these guys have some money hidden somewhere. He's broke, but his son and wife and mother are not broke. And basically now that all his loans have been settled by a favorable dispensation, his 100 rupee loan has been settled for $10. Big haircuts. All his loans have been settled. Now he wants the ban on SEBI's ban on him being lifted, which means he can come back to the capital market and raise money again. And that's the idea.
Okay. Why are LIC agents against this clawback, protesting against this clawback norms?
Okay, what is clawback norms? Clawback norms is, I am an agent, I sell you a policy. At the end of 3 years, you don't pay the money. You close the policy. The LIC used to take the loss. Now what IRDA has done is two things from 1st October. One, what they have said is the maximum commission that can be paid is being clawed to 10% or 15%. So you cannot pay more than 10-15%. Second, it has said that if a prematurely closed policy, the agents have to refund the commission. So now the agents already LIC agents were getting 30-40% commission. And that's why you had so many LIC salesmen. And everybody had an LIC policy, whether you wanted one or not.
Yes.
And banks were abusing it. Anybody who went to bank had to buy a policy. Because the bank was making 50% margin. So they were showing non-fund income, other income. Now with the RBI turning the screws on IRDA, the selling of rampant mis-selling of life insurance policies an end. Because the incentive is removed. Like Charlie Munger famously said, it's all incentive driven. So once you remove the incentive, people will stop mis-selling. Now a lot of people in LIC are dependent on it for livelihood. Overnight you have made their livelihood zero, and you will see LIC go into the doldrums.
As you predicted, gold has broken $2,700. They're saying it's because of uncertainty around the US polls. What do you feel going forward?
I think it will go to 3,500 in the next year. It's very clear. Even Jerome Powell is not tightening the amount he said he would tighten. There are two elements to tightening. One is keeping interest rates high. The other is he had expanded the balance sheet of the
Yes.
and he claimed he will reduce the balance sheet by letting bonds to run out. That is, the Fed is the largest owner of corporate bonds and Fed Treasury. Now he stopped buying new ones. Then he said he will tighten. What is it? He said he will tighten. When bonds go mature and he gets the money, he will not replace the.
Correct.
He will not replace that bonds. To keep it same. Then he announced a rate at which by 1 trillion he will reduce the balance sheet of the Fed every year. And by extinguishing money. The moment he started doing it, 2-3 banks went belly up. He stopped it. And he has reduced the target. He is taking ultra baby steps in doing that. That means there's a lot of money floating around in the market. And that is pushing up the dollar gold price. This is even before US really cuts.
Correct.
Now when US cuts 2-3%, this will hit 3-5.
Wonderful. Anyway, investment bankers seem to be the guys who made money in this Hyundai IPO. Nonsense.
Yes, they did.
Yes. They've made 493 crores in fees.
See, at the end of the day, by paying 500 crores, right, which is not even $500 million.
Yes.
He has taken $3 billion. Money from Indian mutual funds and Indian investors has gone to Korea.
Not only banks are leaving, even funds are leaving.
Even funds are leaving. When you want to give so much valuation which has no meaning to these kind of companies, then you are going to
see this kind of action.
This kind of actions.
And last thing which I wanted to ask you was about L&T and this thing about getting into nuclear play. Google also had recently come out with news saying to power AI requirements, they're going to build small nuclear power plants. Now L&T seems to be getting into the play.
Yes,
so what do you think?
A lot of companies, L&T has not got contracts in India.
Yes, they're looking at US.
So what they are trying to say is, they are going to set up small nuclear baby plants.
Correct. Mini plants.
And even the permission has come to in India for them to build US plants. So they want to, with the US 123 deal that Manmohan Singh
signed way back,
Way back. You want to bring fuel from America, build small nuclear plants, which will give energy to the private sector. This is what they are trying to do. Tata Steel is trying to do the same thing. And maybe L&T, once it gains experience, will set up these plants outside India also.
All right. So that covers our news.
आपने इस पॉडकास्ट को सुना, इसके लिए मैं आपका आभारी हूँ. हो सके तो इस वीडियो को लाइक कीजिए, चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिए और बेल नोटिफिकेशन दबाएं. इस वीडियो को अपने दोस्त और रिश्तेदार के पास भेजें और उनको देखने की आग्रह करें. नमस्कार, धन्यवाद, जय हिंद.